Hey guys, and welcome to my 1 to 99 and 120 prayer guide for 2021 and beyond. Whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. For prayer, there are lots of different useful experience boosts, but the XP boosts listed on screen now can also be used for different skills as well. Most of these experience boosts are not skill specific, except for the Inspire or Relic, which is only available for combat skills, but you of course have different relics for different skills that give that 2% boost. We then have a big list of useful items for the prayer skill. Now some of these items are actually not as useful as you might think, for example the auto sanctifier, because they're very expensive invention component wise, but we'll get to that later. We have some skill specific outfits like the first age outfit, which I will explain how to get, giving you up to 6% bonus experience for the entire set. Definitely recommended to get. We have the prayer skill cape, which is nice if you're using your own player owned house. We have brawling gloves, which I'll also cover, the harmony, salvation and corruption auras, the perfect juju prayer potion, which you should always be using, the Bonecrusher and Ectoplasmator, which have a niche use and can be used as a drop cleaner, prayer urns up to infernal, some mobility boosting items which you could use but aren't necessarily required, and the Dragon Rider amulet, which is great if you're doing the scatter bury method. Here's a list of quests that give you prayer experience, although these aren't as important as they are for other skills, as you can train prayer with higher level bones from level 1. In this guide we'll be covering the following training methods. There are a few things I won't cover, including god statues, which do give prayer experience, but it's not really that much, and if you really want to do that, I have a separate guide linked in the description below. The majority of you watching this guide will probably train prayer through the Chaos Altar or Gilded Altar with 2 incense burners lit. In the image on screen you can see each ash and bone in the game, from cheapest to most expensive per experience. This table will change over time, so be sure to check the wiki calculator in the description below, especially if you're already level 70 or 80 prayer, as this image shows the GP per XP and total cost from levels 1 to 99 without any boosts on the Chaos Altar. Here's exactly the same thing except for levels 99 to 120, again without any boosts, no juju potion, no first stage outfit and all that kind of stuff. The two main training methods in this game are by using a Gilded Altar with 2 incense burners lit and the Chaos Altar. Both of these give the exact same experience per bone, but the Chaos Altar is slightly better in terms of bone juice per hour and therefore slightly faster experience per hour. You can expect to get about 8 to 10% more experience per hour at the Chaos Altar, but there's a slight risk involved. For both of these training methods, the setup is exactly the same thing. You want to sip a perfect juju prayer potion which lasts 1 hour and then fill up all of your inventory slots with bones and your beast of burden if you have access to one. If you have access to the first age outfit, you want to of course be using it, and if you have your own Gilded Altar, you want to use a house teleport tab or bring a rune pouch of earth, and lore runes. If you're using the Chaos Altar, this is not necessary, and I also don't recommend bringing anything else than the first age outfit in the wilderness if you're going to be doing the Chaos Altar method. If you don't have access to your own Gilded Altar, but you want to train safely without being in the wilderness, although there isn't that much risk involved, you can use other people's Gilded Altar by going to World 31 and looking if there's an active host and simply joining their house and using their altar instead. Nowadays, these Gilded Altars are hosted at Taverly. What you do to use the method is simply go to the altar, right click and offer the bones. If you're using a Beast of Burden familiar and you don't want to right click a second time each run, you have to grab the items out of your familiar's inventory just before your own inventory runs empty. This way your character keeps the action going without requiring you to right click a second time. After you've used up all of your bones, simply bank by using the glory teleport inside the player's house and going to Edgeville, or by using the PVM hub teleport, banking and then going back to the Taverly lodestone. You want to repeat this process, and that's basically how you train prayer at the Gilded Altar. If you'd like to quickly grab items from your BOB familiar like I did in that particular clip, right click the familiar icon on your action bar, choose settings, scroll down to familiar interaction and choose take BOB as the left click option. Training at the Chaos Altar, also known as the Chaos Temple in the wilderness, is slightly more risky, but the only real risk you have is the risk of losing the bones in your inventory and Beast of Burden familiar. As long as you don't do the noted method and simply use the bank that is right there, you won't be risking more than what your inventory is worth. This method gives the exact same experience per bone as the Gilded Altar and also doesn't work on double experience weekend. Your perfect juju prayer potion, however, does work, and so does your first age outfit. This method is actually slightly faster as you use more bones or ashes per hour. That is because the bank is right there. One thing worth mentioning is that you should not try to bladed dive towards the banking NPC, as you cannot actually bank when in combat. You can bladed dive back towards the altar if you'd like to save some time. These are the experience rates for both the Gilded and Chaos Altar. At the Gilded Altar, you can get a casual 1525 items per hour done or offered, and at the Chaos Altar you can get 1660. Both of these rates can be slightly higher or lower depending on how efficient you are and if you're using a BOB familiar or not, but these experience rates are representative of the basic speed rates you can get while training prayer. Please keep in mind that both of these methods cannot be done during double experience weekend, as altar experience is not doubled. The next method involves the scatter and bury method using the auto sanctifier, or if you'd like to, a dragon rider amulet. I do not recommend doing this method because the auto sanctifiers are way too expensive invention component wise, and you use up to 190 or 200 of these per hour, which means you need a ton of components. The way you do this method is by filling up your inventory with one bone, then an ash, one bone, then an ash, and so on, and also your BOB familiar as well. This method is really fast and you can get up to 2.5 million base prayer experience per hour, which means it's significantly faster than the altar method. But it is also very expensive invention component wise and requires setup time. Keep in mind that the Dragon Rider amulet only doubles the experience when burying bones, and the auto sanctifier has a 3.5 times bonus just like the Gilded Altar. Both the Dragon Rider amulet and the auto sanctifier do not work on double experience weekend, so doing this method on double experience weekend is completely pointless. Next up we have the Vyrewatch method, and this method is profitable and it works on double experience weekend, and it gives you common experience, farming experience, fire making experience, and overall this is the best and most cost effective way of training prayer. The Vyrewatch method does however have steep requirements, being curses, the River of Blood quest complete, and a couple of other things. You can gain anywhere from 180 to 300,000 prayer experience per hour from Vyrewatches without double experience weekend and other prayer boosts, depending on if you're using the Mauritania legs or not. Mauritania legs boost the prayer experience gained here, so having access to those is also recommended if you want more out of your time. If you're interested in this method, check out my guide linked in the description below. Next up we have another method that works on double experience weekend, although I'd say this method is a little bit old now. I wouldn't say it's a good way of training per se, and it's only really a good idea if you're doing it on double experience weekend and you have nothing else to do. Cleansing crystals are around 305,000 experience per hour, and that experience rate can be boosted by a further 20% if Voice of Seren is active. The reason you would only want to do this method on double experience weekend is because the GP per XP is quite bad, -11 compared to something like Arab Bones, which is 8.85 and faster. On double experience weekend, this GP per XP rate is of course halved, and you can just sit there, buy some crystals from the NPC and AFK away. But on double experience weekend, I would say this is very low on the priority list if you have a bunch of other buyables left for maxcape like construction, crafting, and so on. Next up we have utilizing prayer urns and the Bonecrusher for Slayer. Prayer urns are impious, accursed, and infernal urns which are activated using an air rune. Once these fill up, and they can be auto-teleported from your settings, you gain a certain amount of prayer experience. This can, for example, be up to 135k base prayer experience per hour at Abyssal Demons if you can kill a lot of them in a short period of time. They could be used at Ripper Demons or any other creature that drops some kind of ashes. The Bonecrusher will work in a similar way, allowing you to crush bones that you don't need, for example regular bones, big bones, dragon bones, and maybe something else as well, giving you anywhere from 10 to maybe 20k per experience per hour without the Dragon Rider amulet. You could potentially kill frost dragons and use the Dragon Rider amulet and get like 150k experience per hour, but why would you be doing that? It's a waste of your time. Next up we have the Prayer Brawling Gloves method, which is limited but very fast experience. These are rare gloves you can obtain through Thieving in Prif, Slayer, Muddy Chests, and the rare drop table. These Prayer Brawling Gloves will give you up to 300% bonus experience, so 4 times the experience in the wilderness. The deeper you are, the more experience you get, which is why you're going to be using these at the Mage Training Arena. Doing this method, you can get close to 3,400 bones per hour, which means these gloves will be pretty much gone in about 20 minutes of use, as they have 1274 charges. I would recommend using something like Frost or Dinosaur Bones for this. Once your inventory is empty, go and pull the lever, go inside, bank, go back outside, and then hold down a keybind for whatever particular bone you're using. Holding down the keybind for that particular bone will automatically bury them quite quickly. Adding ashes to incense sticks is another way of training prayer. With the best type of incense sticks being magic wands, and adding Inferno Ashes to them, you can get up to 150,000 prayer experience per hour. Although this is not really a training method. It's slow, and sometimes you'll be losing money as well while doing this. I thought it was worth a mention anyway because it is, after all, a training method, although not a very good one. The same can be said for the Ectofuntus method. Now this is a method that actually gives you the most amount of experience per bone or ash. But we're not going to be using this as an actual training method. We're going to be doing this method to obtain Ectofuntus tokens, as we need a whopping 5,000 for the first age outfit pieces. You also require Ectofuntus tokens for the Ghost Ahoy and Rocking Out quests. We're going to be doing this using Infernal Ashes because grinding the bones upstairs is way too time consuming. Get to the location on the map by walking there from the Canvas Lodestone, using your Ectofire, or using your 5 daily teleports on the Mauritania legs too. If you have a Beast of Burden familiar, be sure to bring that along. Then go down the ladder and go to the slime pool as seen on video. From the slime pool, you're going to have to collect buckets of slime. You can do so by simply clicking the slime pool once and waiting. Once your inventory is full, stuff up your Beast of Burden, and then collect even more. You can also use magic notepaper to note the buckets of slime if you have access to it. Once you're completely full, go back to a bank, for example the PVM hub, and bank the items and repeat this process. Once you have as many as you need, which is 1,000 if you want to get the full outfit if you have 0 pieces, because you're going to need 5,000 Ectofuntus tokens, make a preset with Infernal Ashes and buckets of slime evenly divided. Then simply click on the Ectofungus and worship it to get 5 Ecto tokens for every single worship. If you hit the cap of Ectofungus tokens, which is near 2,500, simply right click this NPC and collect. You can then go for another 2,500. You can buy the outfit pieces from the Shady Ghost NPC which roams around this area. And that's all the information you need to know on how to train prayer properly. I hope you guys enjoyed this guide and found it helpful. If you did, leave a like down below and maybe even consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.